Introduce Dave B. from Tucson.
Hey, thanks, Dan. Uh, Appreciate you inviting me to speak at the meeting. Parking's a little tight here, but I managed. Yeah, I was just talking last night at a meeting that the last outing that I got to have out of Tucson, Sid and I came to Prescott to visit you and Beth, had dinner, and then we went to the Saturday night speaker meeting. And so that was a really good time. And it's nice to see I have friends all over the place. And I have friends from California here. Vicky and Renee are here. And I have friends from Prescott, all you folks up there. Prescott Valley. To me, it's one thing. It's like saying you're from Phoenix or Mesa or Scottsdale. It's all Phoenix to me. So you guys are the same. But I'll tell you a little bit about what it was like for me, what happened and what it's like now. That's what the book tells me I'm supposed to do. Maybe if you're new to Alcoholics Anonymous, you might say, that was me. I was like that. I've got to have this thing, like it says in the big book. That didn't happen to me for a long time. But I'll tell you a little bit about how I got here. I grew up in Maine. For those of you not familiar with geography, that is the northeasternmost state in the country with a population of 1 million ever since I was born until today. And very rural and not much happening. I was born on a cold morning. I know it was cold because it was in February. And my family, they put the fun in dysfunctional. They were the worst. And that's not why I'm an alcoholic, though. That has nothing to do with that. I remember as a young kid, I was growing up in Bangor, Maine, one of the larger cities, and found one of my dad's whiskey bottles and took a taste of that with a couple of my brothers. Worst stuff I'd ever had. I thought, oh my gosh, how could people drink that stuff? I was only 5 years old, so, I hadn't developed the taste yet. But as time went on, in my family, anybody came to visit, there was drinking. That's just the rule. If nobody came to visit, there was drinking. So there was always booze at my house growing up. So when people were around drinking and drinks were sitting around and beers and stuff, I would continually try them and always thought, oh my gosh, this stuff is terrible. I don't understand why people drink this stuff. But something happened when I was 12. That's the official drinking age in Maine. I broke into a friend of my parents' house and stole a fifth of vodka. And I went off with my brother, my brother closest to me in age. I have 5 brothers or had. One of my friends and one of his friends. And we took that vodka and had the traditional red Kool-Aid and vodka drink. And I'll never forget that day when I mixed some vodka with red Kool-Aid and I went glug, 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 glug. That was when it happened. That was it. A normal person would have seen that night as a reason to not ever drink again, because as the night wore on and the vodka was disappearing, my brother stopped drinking, his friend stopped drinking, my friend stopped drinking. I drank until it was gone. I came to out of a blackout in a fist fight with somebody I'd never seen before. And no idea to this day why that was. But, I couldn't wait for that to happen again. I just wanted to have that. Now, even though the drinking age in Maine was 12, you couldn't legally buy it at 12. But back then, when I was 12 in the early 1900s, there was none of this video surveillance, and you could walk into a store, and in Maine, pretty much any time of year, you can wear a rather large jacket. And I would go into the store and they had beer right in the grocery store, and you just quart down one sleeve, quart down another sleeve, head out the door, and that was my stash for the day. I got into all of the outside issues. So if you think that you're not like me because I didn't do all those special things that you've done, I've done everything from A to Z, aspirin to Zantac, and every mode you can think of. So, but that's an outside issue. I'm going to tell you about my drinking. and how I came to Alcoholics Anonymous. So as life went on, just trying to get booze whenever I could. I was getting into high school and just doing the deal. And, I was the smart kid in the Bradford family. And, I was always just destined to be a college kid. And, as I continued drinking in high school, I went from a straight A student to I'm passing high school okay, but I got to the graduation time, and I decided that I was going to try and see. But my dad, he was a blue collar worker, never really seemed to have much use for me. I always thought I was the kid that didn't belong in the family. Maybe I was switched at birth or something, but I wanted to impress him. So I got a manly construction job. I used to put up guardrail in Maine. A lot of people in Arizona don't know what guardrail is because most of the roads just fall into the ditch, and that's that for that. But in Maine, there's guardrail on every inch of road practically. Steel beams, heaving those around. I thought, that would be impressive to my dad. He'd see that I truly am a manly man, and not just an egghead. He was not impressed, and so I went to college that fall, and man, I was smart. I already told you I was the smartest Bradford. Well, you don't know how smart I was. I went to college. I didn't even have to go to classes. I maintained a 1.2 GPA without ever going to class except to take the test. I could just go in there, stoned, drunk, whatever, take a test, leave, So I wasn't working. So I quit college, and I started my bachelor's degree 4 or 5 times before I finally finished it. But, I couldn't get going with college. I didn't like manual labor. Man, heaving steel was no fun. And so I came up with a new way to impress my family. I would join the United States Navy, and that would really seal the deal. They would say that I was a great person, and I joined the Navy in 1976, and nobody understood why I did that. I'd already gotten married because I needed to get married because you got to have the white picket fence, and the 2-car garage. Well, okay, we didn't have a fence around our double wide trailer, and we didn't have a garage, but it was just what it was, and we had a son. But I needed to join the Navy to fix my life, and my wife didn't want me to join the Navy, and it's like, yeah, whatever, so I did. And I went off to boot camp. And I say that my last drunk began when I got out of boot camp. That was in May-ish of 1976. My last drunk began. And I went on a tear. For all the while I was in the military, I worked in the medical field. So, I got to work in a clinic, and it was a small clinic outside of Washington, D.C. And I got to rotate around to different departments. So I worked in the pharmacy, which may explain some of the outside issues that I got involved with. And I thought that was great. And, but I was always stoned and drunk and going to work and just in terrible shape. Well, my wife decided while I was gone that she was going to divorce me, and I couldn't imagine why she would divorce me after all I had done for her, and but she did. She went through with that. So her and my son were off in Maine, and I was in the Navy just on a tear. I met someone in Alcoholics Anonymous, a friend of mine up in Maine, that made a statement one time that when he said it, it was just like an amazing revelation. He said, I have not been in a lot of different sick relationships. I have been in the same sick relationship with a lot of different people. Because it didn't matter if you were my partner in life, in my relationship, or if you were my friend, quote, if I didn't get anything out of the deal is off. Because that, I just wanted to get for me. And so anyways, I went through this Navy spiel and got out March 1st, 1980. And just kept right on going. In Maine, the bars open at 11 o'clock in the morning, which is when I got up. I'd get up at 11 o'clock in the morning, walk downtown, drink all day, and then the bars close at 1 a.m., but you could go to a bottle club where they would have live bands and you could bring a bottle with you and drink the rest of the night. So I was doing that for a few months. And then my youngest brother graduated from high school in June of that year. So I'm driving my little Honda Civic. It's about the size of one of these Zoom video frames, and I passed out and ran into a telephone pole and just driver's side door right into my head. So I have, 30 stitches up here and another 15 down here. And, that should have been an awakening, but it was not. It was not. I just kept right on going for 3 more years after that. I met another woman and got in a relationship with her. And, it was my same-sex relationship with another person, and she had a son. And, man, I was mean to him. I was mean to her. And it was just, I was just an angry drunk. And I went back to the university on the GI Bill and studied psychology so I could get myself a degree in psychology and figure out how to help this world of sick people. Not me, of course, but the rest of you needed some help. And, this woman wrote me a letter in May of 1983 and said that she thought I was alcoholic. She's a nurse, so of course she would know. And that I needed to get help. Well, I wrote a letter back to her because we couldn't talk face to face just because we lived together. And I wrote her a letter back that said it wasn't because of alcohol. I had a very strict potty training growing up, and that's why I was an angry person. It doesn't have anything to do with alcohol. And man, I don't know why, but she apparently accepted that because she didn't say another word until October of that year. And then the issue came up again. She thought I was an angry drunk. I only smashed one table, one guitar, a few holes in the wall, nothing more than the average person. And she thought I was an alcoholic and needed to get treatment. So she wanted me to go talk to this doctor named Stanley up in Bangor, Maine. I asked her if he was a psychiatrist, and she said, yes, he is. Well, I thought, sweet, I almost got a degree in psychology. I'll go talk to the psychiatrist for a minute. He'll give her some pills and we'll all be just happy, Well, he wasn't a psychiatrist. I went to see Stanley on a Friday, and he had an entourage with him of some alcohol rehab counselor folks. And they barely started talking to me, and they decided I needed to be hospitalized for my alcoholism. Well, I thought, that's crazy. That's just crazy. I can't be hospitalized. I am so freaking busy right now. I didn't have a job. I quit school again, 3 courses away from graduating in the bachelor's program. So I quit school, and I was living in this rundown farm in this little town in Maine. But I was busy. I had irons in the fire. Something could happen anytime now. And but they persisted, and I thought, whatever, I'll just go do this thing. It can't take that long. So I agreed to go into the hospital. Thought, a few days in the hospital, then everybody will be happy and off my back. Well, this program turns out to be a 28-day program. It's like, right. So Monday, I check into the hospital. They put me into a little, your typical hospital jammies and bathrobe. And it's like, the door closed behind me. I will never forget that hollow slamming of the door that just shut behind me. And I thought, this is the end, the absolute end. You can turn around and walk out. It's not locked. It felt like I'd just been locked away for life. And I thought, it cannot get any worse than this. This is terrible, Well, it did get worse. That night at 7 o'clock, they took us downstairs into a huge auditorium to an AA meeting where they had about 100 people in this meeting. And marched us all in there in our little hospital jammies and robes and set us down. It's like, oh my God. And it was a speaker meeting, and somebody was up at the front of the room like me, just going wah, 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 wah. I have no idea what they said. I'm thinking, I see the steps on the wall and it's talking about God. And it's like, nope, I'm an atheist. This is not it. And I thought the Puritans were going to convert me, and I was doomed. At the end of the meeting, in Maine, they give out these valuable plastic poker chips for the tokens of sobriety, and they started off with a white one to surrender. And they had that white poker chip, and I'm way back at the back of the room, and the nurse sitting next to me kept elbowing me and said I needed to go pick one of those up. And it's like, I don't want one of those things. Stupid chintzy plastic chip. I still have it today. I finally thought, oh, fine, I'll just go get one so she'll stop giving me the elbow. So I went up to the front of the room to get this plastic chip. Everybody's cheering and yahoo, and oh my gosh. I'm thinking, what the bleep? But I just took it and sat back down. And at the end of the meeting, they went to close with the Lord's Prayer. And I said, oh, hell no. I am not saying the Lord's Prayer with you guys. This old timer said, that's okay. Just keep coming back. And, while I was in the Spin Dry Center, I didn't have a choice. They made us go to an AA meeting every single freaking night of the week. No rest. It's like, come on. Well, you drank every day, didn't you? Okay. Well, in the Spin Dry Center, you got to have assignments. So one of my assignments was to get a sponsor. And they told me when I left there, I needed to get a home group and some phone numbers. And so I got a sponsor because I had run into this guy that I had gone to high school with. This guy was freaking crazy. He was a drunk. I knew that. Everybody knew that. I was not, but, so I asked Alan if he would be my sponsor, and he agreed. So I immediately called him a couple of weeks later, and, we kind of just getting into a sober relationship. And when I left the Spin Dry Center, I went to this little town that's about probably 15, 20 miles from where I lived. It's called Canduskeg. Don't be sad if you can't say it. It's one of those Maine things. But they cross over the bridge group in Canduskeg, Maine was my first home group. And boy, when I walked into that room, I thought, oh my gosh, I am just in time. This is a sad bunch of people. They're all alcoholics. One of them's a meat cutter. There's this guy that dropped out of school in the 8th grade. There was a nurse's aide, a bank teller, this old blind guy. It's like, oh my gosh, I'm going to save these people with my almost degree in psychology, just in time. So I would go to the home group and I would complain. I can't find a flipping job. For some reason, I couldn't get a job. I applied for a ton of jobs. They would tell me, oh, maybe you just need to turn it over, let it go. Step 3, don't worry about it. It'll come when it's right. That's not what I wanted to hear. I wanted some sympathy. And then I'd go, the kids are just bouncing off the wall. They're just driving me crazy. You're powerless, just let it go, turn it over. It's like, every time, didn't matter what the discussion was, those people wanted to talk about the 12 steps. And it's like, no, I almost have a degree in flipping psychology. I have 50 psychology books that stack to the ceiling. Those stupid 12 steps are not going to be the answer. I'll do them tonight, by Jesus, and we'll set this matter straight. So I became determined I was going to finish those steps, and I didn't get them done in one night. It did take a little longer. And the first step said that I was powerless over alcohol and my life was unmanageable. I knew that there was chaos in my life and I drank a lot. I didn't know that I was powerless, but I was willing to go with that. The important thing is that I make a beginning. I don't have to get an A+ on the steps, but I wanted to. The second step, being an atheist, that saying that I came to believe that a power greater than myself could restore me to sanity. I would have believed I was insane more than an alcoholic. That was easier for me to accept. But they said, hey, just use the group of drunks. Oh, okay. I'll just use the group of drunks for the second and third step, because they're a group of people that have found an answer. And so I can just rely on them for this part of the program. Say, I'm passing the steps just like you told me. Nothing's happened. And then I remember I called my sponsor for whatever reason. I have no idea why, but we were talking, and I was telling him, that I was working on the steps and was getting ready to do step 4. Apparently, he did not read the script, because I wanted him to say, whoa, Dave, you need to slow down, man, take it easy. Instead, he said, what are you waiting for? So I'm going to do this inventory stuff. Now, a lot of people think the 4-step is this big thing to be afraid of, and it's not. It's just self-examination, and people get all wigged out. Oh, no, then I'm going to have to tell somebody about it. 4-step doesn't say I'm telling anybody about it. I'm just writing stuff down. But I couldn't figure that out. I was ready to do this damn 4-steps. I got to get these off the list. And I read the 4-step in the big book. No idea what they were telling me. Read it in the 12 and 12. No idea what they were telling me. I almost got a degree in psychology. I can't figure out how to do a 4-step inventory. And I'm asking people, we're talking about it at meetings, and it's not sinking in. No idea. And I remember I was at this Wednesday night meeting, and my friend Bill was there, and I said, Bill, I am trying to figure out how to do this 4-step, and I can't figure it out. He opens up the big book, and I'll paraphrase what it says, that we thought about these institutions, people, and ideas that bothered and burned us, and we put them down on paper. All of a sudden, the freaking light bulb came on. I looked at Bill and I said, I write it down? He said, you write it down. It's like, oh my gosh, I had no idea. So I got going on that list of resentments. And my sponsor said, if you think of somebody and you think you have a resentment against them, just put them down on the paper. We'll sift through it later. So don't take anybody off. Once they come to mind, you put them down. And so I did. I put all these people down on the paper that I had resentments against, and what they had affected in my life. My personal relations, sex relations, security, finances, whatever it was. And then my part. Well, that's a little tricky. I don't think I had a part, but so I worked through that, and then I had the fears and the sex inventory. What sex relations was I in for selfish reasons? All of them. It's not like I was a compassionate, caring person. I was just a sick drunk. So anyways, I got all this stuff done, and I'm ready to do this 5th step. I am not afraid of doing the 5th step at all, because when I get done telling Alan, who I chose to do my 5th step with, my sponsor, I get done telling him this story, he'll stop me halfway and say, wait a minute, dude, I didn't know all that. You do not belong in Alcoholics Anonymous. We don't want your kind around here. And we went to a truck stop. And I'm sure many of you have been to a truck stop before, and they're very busy places. Waitresses going everywhere, truckers wandering everywhere. And Alan and I sat down at a table and got some coffee. And I opened my book and I started. This always chokes me up. All of a sudden, there are no more truckers walking by, no more waitresses walking by, and it's me and Alan. And I'm just telling him this stuff, waiting for him to tell me I don't belong in Alcoholics Anonymous. Instead, I would say something, and he'd say, share about himself without exhibition, what he had done. The exact same stuff that I had done. And we went through that whole thing that night, drinking coffee. And, for me, that was a turning point. I went home, and the book says, in the big book, it says that I sat quietly for 1 hour. Oh, I don't think so. I might have made 40 minutes, but that's all I'm going to do. I didn't take the book down from the shelf. And I said a prayer to a God I didn't believe in. So step 6 and 7, we're entirely ready to have God remove all these defects of character. Check. Humbly asked him to remove our shortcomings. Check. Done. I'm all done with that. First 7 steps done. I don't have to worry about anything anymore. And it's not quite how it works. There's more work that came with that later on, but that was where I thought I was, And for me, that was a turning point in my sobriety. I had a moment that is like, oh my gosh, this might be the answer to my life. Still didn't really believe I was an alcoholic at the core of my being, but really thought that maybe I was on a path that might do something, so I wanted to continue on that path. Well, in the 8th step, when I needed to make this list, they were most of them in my 4-step writing, most of these people, and so I made the list of all the people that I'd harmed and became willing to make amends to them all, except Robin, who was the woman who had my first son, who divorced me while I was away in the Navy serving our country. She's running around and divorced me. How could she do that to me? She stayed in the I ain't making amends list for a long time. It took me a long time to get sober enough to be able to make amends to her. So I had my list, and I'm ready to make some amends. And I've always been told over my time in the program, that rather than jump out there and try to make amends to people, you should write it down and then maybe talk about it with your sponsor or some other friends in the program, just to make sure that you're staying on your side of the street. I don't want to go and say, gee, I'm sorry you're so sensitive about what I did, that it's upset you. That's not making amends. I need to own my piece of it, leave your piece out of it, and ask for forgiveness. That's what it's about for me. And as I was moving along in the steps, as I got into that 8th and 9th area, I moved on from Alan as a sponsor because we were becoming very close in sobriety and age and in sobriety. So I wanted to get somebody with more time. And back then we didn't have any of these 50-year-old sober people, So my old timer at that time was 25 years sober, and that was Jack. And Jack is a person, if I was speaking in Tucson and my sponsees were in the room and I said, constant vigilance, they would all slap their fist into their palm of their hand, because that's what Jack taught me. He would always say that, no matter what. He's misquoting the 3rd step in the 12 and 12. It says in the 12 and 12, yeah, we've been to a few meetings, we've got a little bit of a higher power connection there, but nothing but continuous action on these as a way of life will bring the much desired results. It means I don't get to do the 12 steps, be done, all done, kick back on my laurels and stay sober the rest of my life. Also says in the preamble of the 12 and 12 that the 12 steps are a set of principles, spiritual in their nature, that if practiced as a way of life, can expel the obsession to drink and allow the user to become happily and usefully whole. So those 2 things tell me I don't get to just one and done with these steps. So Jack was the one that got me into this idea of talking over amends with him before I jumped into them and went running out willy-nilly to make amends. And I got through those lists of amends and picked away at the ones that I had at that time. But interestingly, over the years, new people appear in my brain. There are people who I've completely forgotten about that I harmed, and I need to put them on the list and become willing to make amends to them. And they popped in. I haven't had one for probably, 5 or 6 years, but all of a sudden I'll be thinking about a time back in the past, and it's like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I did that. Got to put them on the list and be ready to make amends to them. And so I got most of the amends done, and but Robin was still on the list. And I moved to Arizona in 1996, and you guys up in Prescott probably know how to run AA, but in Tucson, they got no idea. You know, I came here and I went to some AA meetings, and they're not like they are back east at all. You know, you talk to the folks in your area from back east, totally different out here. So I immediately got resentments against Alcoholics Anonymous in Tucson, but I'd been sober a long time. Geez, I was 13 years sober. You don't have to go to AA after that, do you? Surely not. You know, so I rarely went to a meeting for that first year in Arizona. And I just became more and more miserable. And I was working one day and just feeling just flipping miserable. I'm thinking, what the bleep is wrong? Why does everything seem like it's just bad? And all of a sudden, the light bulb came on. It's like, oh my gosh, I haven't been to a meeting in, at that time, probably 6 months, 8 months. I don't even remember. And it's like, damn, I learned that early on. Don't drink, go to meetings. Don't drink, go to meetings. I didn't drink, but I didn't go to meetings. So I just prayed, don't let me talk myself out of going to a meeting tonight. Because you can't talk me out of it. If anybody talks me out of going to a meeting, it's me. It's all on me. I can't say, oh, well, Dan said we could do this. No, it's me, you know. And I went to a meeting that night. And, you know, that was my recommitment back then. That was in 1997. I got recommitted into the program. Got a brand new home group here in Tucson. It was called Our Daily Bread. And really got involved in that group and started helping out with the group and getting engaged in Alcoholics Anonymous, and you know, started doing the service work for the group. They elected a new GSR, a guy named Pat, and I thought, well, they wanted an alternate. Yeah, sure, I'll be the alternate GSR. That's the group service representative, for those of you who do not understand alphabet soup. And so I just figured the alternate doesn't do anything, right? I could look like I'm in service, but I'm not. Well, within a couple of months, Pat decided he couldn't do the job, and the group said, yay, Dave can do it. And so I became the group service representative for the Our Daily Bread group here in Tucson. And you know, I served in that position, and you know, that's one of those groups, I'm sure you guys have seen them, where the GSR comes back with their report from the assembly around the state, you know, telling everybody the things we talked about and what we voted on. And they're all yawning and, you know, geez, when's it gonna be done? So, but I just did it, you know, and I just kept doing it. And, you know, that was the beginning of my free fall down the service triangle, you know, because this program is not just do the steps, do the steps, do the steps. It's not just study the traditions, study the traditions. It's not just the concepts, you know. We have recovery, unity, and service. It's an equilateral triangle. And a lot of times people just go, ugh, he's going to talk about service again. Yes, he is. By golly, you guys invited me, so here I am. But you know, the thing is, you know, that if I am not in service, my triangle's lopsided. And I was talking with a sponsee a few years ago, and I said, dude, you really need to get into some service, you know. Oh, no, man, I don't want to be the delegate. He said, I didn't say be the delegate. Service, you know, chairing this meeting, you know, making coffee at a live meeting, greeting people to the meeting. Those are service, sponsorship service, you know. Everything that you do to make 12-step work possible is service, you know, and carrying the message is service. So don't get all hung up on that alphabet stuff. You don't have to be GSR, DCMC, SBC, none of that stuff. You know, you can be fully of service in your group. And the unity comes with the group. I mean, all the 12 traditions just fall back onto unity. You know, our unity, common welfare comes first. You know, personal recovery depends on our unity. If Alcoholics Anonymous fell apart, I wouldn't have any place to go. people think, oh yeah, we could still have meetings. Yeah, where you're going to get your literature? Who's going to bring that for you? Who's going to publish that? So it's really important that we maintain our unity. So I got back into Alcoholics Anonymous, as I said, in the late 90s, really dove into it. And this woman that had insisted that I go and talk to Stanley, the psychiatrist, she and I ultimately got married. We have a daughter who has never seen me drink. And she's going to be 33 years old next month. And, Amy and I didn't make it, because she sent me on a path to find the answer, but she didn't come with me, and so our relationship didn't get to work. We ultimately wound up getting divorced, and, it's not because I hated her or anything. It's just like, I want to live in a sober household. I want to live with sober people. I want to have those kinds of people in my life. I was talking with a sponsee the other day, and he said, I've really been deciding to just get toxic people out of my life and just not hang out with them. I said, yeah, that's a good idea. I don't have to hang out with toxic people. I can hang out with you guys and be all sober. But, I had been on this service quest, and I think it was when I was the GSR for the Our Daily Bread group, the pre-conference assembly, the one that comes before the General Service Conference that happens in New York in April. The pre-conference that year was March 25th, give or take a day. It was March 25th. And I was there sitting at the table, and this woman sat down, and we just kind of chatting a little bit. And so if she were telling you the story, she'd say, I asked her what her husband did. Well, I did. I did ask her what her husband did, because I wanted to know, did she have a husband? That was my way of finding out. And she didn't. And it was interesting. I'd not seen her maybe once before in Alcoholics Anonymous. And, as we went through the next several months in AA, I kept seeing her at the meet. All of a sudden, she's at every meeting that I'm going to. I think she was stalking me, but I might have been stalking her. I'm not sure. But actually, it just happened, and man, I'll never forget that, all of a sudden, some reason I thought, well, I'm just going to ask her out on a date, and she said yes. Oh my gosh. I was in my 40s. Like, I hadn't asked anybody on a date for a long time. And she said yes. And we went on a date, May 11th, 2000. And it was just amazing that our paths crossed. And we've been together ever since, because she's a sober woman in Alcoholics Anonymous. We have a sober household. Doesn't mean we're saints. We are not saints, but the point is we're willing to grow along spiritual lines, and so we got married in 2002. So we're coming up on 19 years of marriage come May. And, it's been a great journey. We do the things that I always wanted to have happen in a relationship. We just have fun. We go to the movies, we travel, whatever, and go to Alcoholics Anonymous stuff. She's on a service path. I'm on a service path. She has sponsees. I have sponsees. We both have a program, and we have a life together. So, that was one of the benefits that came out of recovery for me. But, the 12 steps don't stop with the making of amends. Step 10 says I need to continue to take personal inventory. And when I am wrong, I need to make amends. Doesn't say if, just says when, because it will happen. We are not saints. The point is we're willing to grow along spiritual lines. And so I have to pay attention. I have to pay attention to what am I doing? Am I behaving like a sober man today, or am I off the deep end again, or whatever, and I can tell if I'm screwing up because I don't have to wait 3 days and write something down and say, oh, yeah, I was screwing up, you know. I snapped at some woman at work one day, and it's like 10 minutes later, I'm in her office making amends to her because I don't want to carry that crap around. You know, I was wrong. She was irritating as hell, but I was still wrong to snap at her, you know. And you know, I have to keep doing that. And then I have some kind of a conscious contact with something. You know, a lot of people will say, oh, well, God, this is what God is. If you can define God that easily, your God is not as big as I need. Because the God that I have in my life is so immense. I have no idea. I could not even begin to tell you what God is. But I know there's something working in my life that has allowed me to stay sober for all these years. You know, I think it is an amazing miracle. You know, when I stop and think about it, October 16th, I had to drink. I had no choice. I had to drink. October 17th, I didn't drink and haven't since. That's a flipping miracle. How can I go from having to drink every single day, no choice? It's not like I got up and decided to get loaded so much that I wrecked my car, or so loaded that I'd be obnoxious in the middle of the restaurant or whatever. You know, I had to drink like that every single day. And then October 17th, free man. How the heck does that happen? Some power greater than myself was working in my life and has been ever since. That has allowed me to maintain this sobriety. And I find it amusing that sometimes I'll be at a meeting and some young person typically will get up and tell me that they got up this morning, they said the 3rd-step prayer, 7th-step prayer, 11th-step prayer, read pages 65 to 70, read pages 83 to 88. And it's like, whoa. It's like, I try to read, and I try to meditate, but I don't do it every single day. The only thing that I do every single day since I got to Alcoholics Anonymous is not drink. You know, the rest of the stuff I'm still trying to get better at. You know, I'm still trying, you know, progress, not perfection, and keep moving down that path. It's funny, I was reading the Grapevine the other day, and this section on from old timers, and this woman was talking about when she was first in the program, that we didn't have all this connectivity that we have today. You know, we if I wanted to call my sponsor, he needed to be in his house by his landline, and I had to be in my house at my landline or at a payphone. We don't even have payphones anymore. But if none of those situations were in effect, I didn't get to talk to my sponsor, which as a newcomer was great because I could tell him, oh, geez, Jack, I called you like 5 times this week and you were never answered. That must have been out in the yard. Yeah, probably, you know. Didn't help my sobriety any to spin those yarns. Then we were talking last night at the meeting back at that time. You know, if I got stopped by the police for whatever reason, and they said, you've been drinking? And I said, yes, I've had a couple. They would say, you need to go home now. It's like, oh my gosh, hadn't invented this DUI stuff that you have nowadays. They just told us to go home. And no, the world was different back then. And I'm really glad now that we have all this connectivity, you know, so that now I can call my sponsor. I can leave him a voicemail if he's not available. I can send him a text. You know, I don't send him an email because he's not an email kind of person. But you know, it's nice to have. But I tell you, as much as this Zoom is a good thing to have, you know, I miss live and in-person meetings. You know, the last live AA event I got to go to, the big event, was PRASA, the Pacific Region AA Service Assembly here in Tucson, back in March, at the beginning of March. And that was the last time I got to hug on all my friends from across the Pacific region. And, you know, that was just so awesome. You know, that's part of our recovery, It's recovery, unity, and service. But it's, I got to be there face to face with you, hug you, know that you're real. I'm just sitting here talking to a bunch of squares on the screen. I feel like I'm on Hollywood Squares or something. And, but the message is still the same, and we can carry it wherever we can. I've been to meetings in Kentucky. I've been to meetings in Maine and, California. I've been to several meetings across the country that I couldn't have gone to before because we didn't have this Zoom technology. But I still want to see you guys live and in person. I was asked to come up there and speak in November at the speakers meeting, and I couldn't do it. It's just like, it was just too risky. I'm an old man, I can't do that kind of stuff. But the last of the steps is the 12th step. This claims that I've had a spiritual awakening as the result of these steps. And they describe that spiritual awakening in the 12 and 12 as that I can now do, see, and feel that which I could not do before on my unaided resources alone. And every quote I make is paraphrase. So don't look it up and say, he misquoted that, because he did. I can tell you that right now. So I've been unaccountably transformed from the person who walked through. If you saw Dave Bradford, 1983, October 16th, and you saw me today, you would not think we were the same person. You would not be able to see the similarities. And I was just a wreck. I'm 6'1", and I weighed 155 pounds when I got sober. Emaciated, scrawny, dirty, nasty. Now I actually understand this daily ritual of hygiene. It's like, interesting. But, I've had that spiritual awakening as the result of these steps. And I try to practice these principles in my life to the best of my ability. And my purpose is to carry this message to other alcoholics and hope that they might find sobriety as well. So thanks again for inviting me up to speak, and I'll turn it back to you folks. Thank you.
Thanks, Dave. We really appreciate you speaking. Will has agreed to read Vision for You.
I'm Will. I'm an alcoholic. Our book is meant to be suggestive only. We realize we know only a little. God will constantly disclose more to you and to us. Ask him in your morning meditation what you can do each day for the man who is still sick. The answers will come if your own house is in order. But obviously you cannot transmit something you haven't got. See to it that your relationship with him is right, and great events will come to pass for you and countless others. This is the great fact for us. Abandon yourself to God as you understand God. Admit your faults to him and to your fellows. Clear away the wreckage of your past. Give freely of what you find and join us. We shall be with you in the fellowship of the Spirit, and you will surely meet some of us as you trudge the road of happy destiny. May God bless you and keep you until then.
Thank you, Will. Just to let everybody know, next week we have Greg S. from Mesa speaking. And then after Dave leads us out in the prayer of his choice, you can unmute yourself and thank Dave. Okay, Dave, it's back to you.
Yes. So as Sid tried to tell you last week, our home group closes with an extended moment of silence. And that would be the prayer I would ask us to end with. Thank you all.
Thank you. And thanks, Dave.
Thank you, Dave.
Please, if anybody would like to unmute yourself and thank Dave, please do.
Thanks, Dave.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Dave.
Hey, Renee.
Thank you, Dave.
Thanks, folks.
Hey, Dave, seeing you 2 nights in a row. Woo!
I know it's getting old, Beth. I'm telling you.
That's pretty good. I just want
Yeah.
to see you in person, though.
Yeah, really.
Someday soon.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll eat together when we got our shot today. We
Oh,
got
yeah.
a shot. So yeah, so soon.
Cool.
It's coming.
Yep.
Thanks for coming up. It was such a long drive, I know.
Oh, yeah. I gotta take
Yeah.
a nap now.
I know. So long.
Thanks, Dave. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Thanks.
Hey, Dave,
Hey,
you know that part where you go, wah, wah, wah? I relate
Yeah.
to that because that's what it felt like for me. I call it the Charlie Brown effect. When the TV
exactly.
Charlie Brown.
That's exactly what I think of.
Fun, 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 fun.
Well, it was great to hear your share.
Yes,
I'll
we'll see you
guys
soon.
later.
Next,
Thank
is
you,
it
Dave.
Saturday, Sid,
Appreciate
speaking
it.
to your meeting?
Thank you.
Thanks. Thanks, Michael.
Appreciate it.
A lot of good words. A lot of good words.
Ever make your amends to your first wife?
I actually did. I was 17 years sober when all of a sudden I was at a step meeting, and every time I went to a step 8 meeting, I was willing to make amends to them all except Robin, except Robin, except Robin. Then I was at a meeting and I was willing to make amends to them all. Oh my gosh. So yeah, I actually got to see her in Maine and made amends 2000, I think it was 2002, somewhere back then. So yeah.
Jason, stay on. I want to talk to you.
Thanks, Dave. Good to see you, man.
Isaac and Karine, nice to see you. Can't wait to see you in person.
Yeah. Hi, Sid. I don't see you on the camera, but good to see you.
She's in and out, that computer's iffy at best. So.
Hi, Pat.
Hi, Pat.
Hi, Corinne. How did you do last night?
As far as I know, I did pretty good.
She got an A+.
I'm sorry I couldn't get there. Yeah, good.
I was there.
I don't think it made anyone go get drunk. So it was definitely gold star.